welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Kathy and let's talk about some books. Today I'm sharing some books I may read in November for Nonfiction November. It's this thing that some people like to do, I think, where they read either they only read nonfiction books for the month of November, or you try to read as many as you can, but essentially the ultimate goal is just to read some nonfiction. I'm not going to be only reading nonfiction books for the month of November, just because I have the books from my A Classic a Month reading challenge as well. Also, I'm not going to be reading all of these books. My goal isn't to read all of these books that I'm sharing today. This video is more of an inspiration for both you guys and for myself, just to read more nonfiction. And so I am sort of pulling these books out and talking about them, and just to have them in my mind as we go into November, so that if I'm looking for a book to read, then these ones are kind of the ones that I'm going to be picking from. These are ones that I think I am quite interested in at this time, and so these are ones I'm likely to read if I'm going to reach for a nonfiction book. So let's get started. I'm definitely going to read some of them. It's not it's not that I don't plan on reading any of them. A few I do think I'll be making quite a bit of an effort to complete. But yeah, let's just get started. So the first book has been, I've been meaning to read for a while now, just because it's a short book and I'm like, okay, let's just read this. I had been putting it on my next to read, I guess, position for a while now, but it's just other things have gotten in the way. But that is Philosophy of Science, A Very Short Introduction. What is science? How much confidence should we place in what scientists tell us? Can science reveal the complete truth about the world? In this new edition, Samir Okasha reviews the main themes of contemporary philosophy of science. Beginning with a brief account of the history of modern science, he asks whether there is a discernible pattern to the way scientific ideas change over time. He examines scientific inference, scientific explanation, and the debate between realist and anti-realist views of science. He also considers philosophical issues in the particular sciences, including the problem of classification in biology, the nature of space in physics, and the concept of mental disease in psychiatry. I just think this seems like a really, really interesting read. As you may or may not know, I have been a science student for a while now. My undergrad was in medical lab science. I've been exposed to, a lot of science in my formal education, but I've never looked at science from a philosophical perspective. And I've never, in my uni courses, we've never really explored the philosophy aspect of science. So I think this will be really, really interesting, and I'll probably be able to learn a lot that I have never learned, or perhaps I will realize that they have been teaching it to us, but just not in a this is the philosophy of science. But either way, it seems like a really good introduction, and I think I like to do a lot of thinking and reflecting. So I guess I've always been drawn to philosophical ideas. So I've never had much, formal engagement with philosophy. But it is something I am delving into now. So I think this is a good place to start. And again, it's a short book, so I don't think I'll have any problems with completing it in November. Sometimes you just need a little push. So this video will be a little bit of a push for me to start reading some of the nonfiction books that have been on my list for a while now. And yeah. The next book is Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. This is actually a book that's on my, like, from my mom's shelves. We have a shared book collection, sort of, at this point. It's not one that the cover isn't really my style, so I wasn't really drawn to it and I hadn't really heard about it. But I did read the... Yeah, I just realized that there's not actually like a blurb for this book. It's just a bunch of like testimonials, which I hate. I don't really like reading testimonials. But I think I had just one day I looked through the contents, like the different chapter names, and I thought it was really interesting. It's a very vast like history of the world, but in a, I guess it's a history of societies, I think. Like, I obviously haven't read the books. There are chapters on like the rise and spread of, or there's a section on the rise and spread of food production. So it talks about different agricultural developments, and then moving from food to guns, germ, and steel. So the evolution of germs, the evolution of writing, the evolution of technology. Oh, maybe I'll read like just the first chapter of the first paragraph of the preface. This book attempts to provide a short history of everybody for the last 13,000 years. The question motivating the book is, why did history unfold differently on different continents? In case this question immediately makes you shudder at the thought that you are about to read a racist treatise, you aren't. As you will see, the answers to the question don't involve human racial differences at all. The book's emphasis is on the search for ultimate explanations and on pushing back the chain of historical causation as far as possible. Quite excited to read this. I have been, it's been on my list for a while now, so I think this is one that I want to get into. Maybe I won't say like finish the book in November, but I definitely want to start reading it next month. And yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. So the next book on my list is We Should All Be Feminists by, oh god, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. What does feminism mean today? That is the question at the heart of We Should All Be Feminists, a personal, eloquently argued essay, adapted from her much-viewed TEDx talk of the same name, by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the award-winning author of Americana and Half of a Yellow Sun. With humor and levity, here Adichie offers readers a unique definition of feminism for the 21st century, one rooted in inclusion and awareness. She shines a light not only on blatant discrimination, but also the more insidious institutional behaviors that marginalize women around the world, in order to help readers of all walks of life better understand the often masked realities of sexual politics. Throughout, she draws extensively on her own experience in the US, in her native Nigeria, and abroad, offering an artfully nuanced explanation of why the gender divide is harmful for women and men alike. Argued in the same observant, witty, and clever prose that has made Adichie a best-selling novelist, here is one remarkable author's exploration of what it means to be a woman today, and an of-the-moment rallying cry for why we should all be feminists. Alright, so I have already bought this book. I ordered it recently and it's on the way, but I don't have it yet. I put this on the list because, I want to read it next month because I bought it, but I bought it because I did really want to read it. It's going to be a quick read because I think the book is only like 80 or something pages, like less than 100, because it is just a like one essay, I guess. Sometimes a lot of nonfiction books I feel like don't need to be as long as they are, but anyway. So this should be really nice, packed full of great ideas, hopefully. I've been wanting to read more feminist texts because, I mean, it's not feminism isn't a new thing to me, and I've always like been a feminist in the sense that I didn't like one day decide to be a feminist. It was just, like it just had always made sense to me. And so obviously there's reasons for that from my upbringing and my education and things like that. But anyway, I just want to, I think, read more of these works and writings, because there's a difference between, I think, like knowing certain things in your mind than being able to express them and eloquently like share those ideas with other people, and have discussions with people about ideas. So there is that difference. I think I want to read more just to see how different ideas that I have or may not have are expressed. And for the ideas that I'm like, oh, like, yes, I've always thought this, then I know, like, oh, like, that's how they put it, and that's like a good example, or that's a good way of expressing that idea. But also, of course, I know that I'm going to come across things that I've never thought about before, and so that'll be really great as well. Yeah, I just think this is a good place to start. It's relatively, recent and short. I have a lot of other works lined up that I have that I want to read. So yeah, I think this is the beginning of a journey, because you can always read more and learn more about topics that you feel like you know a lot about already, but there's still different ideas and ways of expressing them that you may not be as familiar with. Moving on, the next book that I really want to read is The Rise and Reign of the Mammals by Stephen Brusatte. Though humans claim to rule the earth, we are the inheritors of a dynasty that has reigned over the planet for nearly 66 million years, through fiery cataclysm and ice ages, the mammals. Our lineage includes saber-toothed tigers, woolly mammoths, armadillos the size of a car, cave bears 3 times the weight of a grizzly, clever scurriers that outlasted Tyrannosaurus rex, and even other types of humans, like Neanderthals. Indeed, humankind and many of the beloved fellow mammals we share the planet with today, lions, whales, dogs, represent only the few survivors of a sprawling and astonishing family tree that has been pruned by time and mass extinctions. How did we get here? In his acclaimed bestseller, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, American paleontologist Steve Brusatte enchanted readers with his definitive history of the dinosaurs. Now picking up the narrative in the ashes of the extinction event that doomed T-Rex and its kind, Brusatte explores the remarkable story of the family of animals that inherited the earth, mammals, and brilliantly reveals that their story is every bit as fascinating and complex as that of the dinosaurs. Alright, so you all know I really enjoyed his previous book, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs. I've been always into dinosaurs, but it's one of the first natural history books that I've read on dinosaurs, so maybe there are other ones that are really good as well. I just haven't read them, but I did really enjoy his first book. It was well written, well researched, and the narrative was not boring at all. The ideas were very well explained. So yeah, I just really enjoyed the book. So it's not just because I really like the topic. And so obviously I'm not as interested in mammals compared to dinosaurs, but I'm still really excited to read this book. So I think that's owing to his writing style. I'm excited to learn about how mammals inherited and filled up the hole that was left by the extinction of the dinosaurs. During the time of the dinosaurs, there were very few mammals, and they were only small creatures with not a lot of diversity. And when the dinosaurs went extinct, then there was suddenly all of this room and all of these niches that could be filled. I do think I'm gonna purchase a copy, But as you know, I am moving to the UK soon, so I will probably pick it up there. Alright, so the next book on my list is Marriage, a History: How Love Conquered Marriage by Stephanie Coontz. Just when the clamor over traditional marriage couldn't get any louder, along comes this groundbreaking book to ask, what tradition? In Marriage, a History, historian and marriage expert Stephanie Coontz takes readers from the marital intrigues of ancient Babylon to the torments of Victorian lovers to demonstrate how recent the idea of marrying for love is, and how absurd it would have seemed to most of our ancestors. It was when marriage moved into the emotional sphere in the 19th century, she argues, that it suffered as an institution just as it begun to thrive as a personal relationship. This enlightening and hugely entertaining book brings intelligence, perspective, and wit to today's marital debate. I mean, I think it's really interesting. Taking a deeper look at marriage as an institution, because marriage is like a social institution. It's not like historically it's the joining of wealth. It's combining wealth into one unit, and that was pretty much the sole purpose. And so I think that's why she explains that like the idea of marrying for love is very new. She says that it suffers now as an institution because I think it's almost like we're making it do something now that it wasn't designed to do. Or just that, you know, the initial intentions of when this institution was designed, it was meant to achieve a different goal than we would like it to achieve now. And so it'll be interesting to read about how that is, just to see some examples and have it more clearly laid out for us, I guess. It's something that I have thought about before, you know, whether like what's the purpose of getting married now. Not that I'm like anywhere close to it, but just as a general topic of pondering and investigation, you know, like thinking about what in today's time and world, like what would the motivations be behind marriage? The next book I was interested in reading is The Symposium by Plato, a fascinating discussion on sex, gender, and human instincts, as relevant today as ever. In the course of a lively drinking party, a group of Athenian intellectuals exchange views on eros, or desire. From their conversation emerges a series of subtle reflections on gender roles, sex in society, and the sublimation of basic human instincts. The discussion culminates in a radical challenge to conventional views by Plato's mentor, Socrates, who advocates transcendence through spiritual love. The symposium is a deft interweaving of different viewpoints and ideas about the nature of love, as a response to beauty, a cosmic force, a motive for social action, and as a means of ethical education. So again, this has to do with me wanting to explore philosophy a little bit more. I picked this one because it is a little bit shorter, and I think the idea of a group of people exchanging ideas, I think that is a little bit more accessible than if it was portrayed in the way of like one person just like speaking the ideas. Alright, the last book on today's list is Fallen Glory: The Lives and Deaths of History's Greatest Buildings by James Crawford. Buildings are more like us than we realize. They can be born into wealth or poverty, enjoying every privilege or struggling to make ends meet. They have parents, gods, kings and emperors, governments, visionaries and madmen, as well as friends and enemies. They have duties and responsibilities. They can endure crises of faith and purpose. They can succeed or fail. They can live, and sooner or later they die. In Fallen Glory, James Crawford uncovers the biographies of some of the world's most fascinating lost and ruined buildings, from the dawn of civilization to the cyber era. The lives of these iconic structures are packed with drama and intrigue. Soap operas on the grandest scale, they feature war and religion, politics and art, love and betrayal, catastrophe and hope. Frequently, their afterlives have been no less dramatic. Their memories used and abused down the millennia for purposes both sacred and profane. They provide the stage for a startling array of characters, including Gilgamesh, the Cretan Minotaur, Agamemnon, Nefertiti, Genghis Khan, Henry VIII, Catherine the Great, Adolf Hitler, and even Bruce Springsteen. The 21 structures Crawford focuses on include the Tower of Babel, the Temple of Jerusalem, the Library of Alexandria, the Bastille, Kowloon Walled City, the Berlin Wall, and the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Ranging from the deserts of Iraq, the banks of the Nile, and the cloud forests of Peru, to the great cities of Jerusalem, Istanbul, Paris, Rome, London, and New York. Fallen Glory is a unique guide to a world of vanished architecture. And by picking through the fragments of our past, it asks what history's scattered ruins can tell us about our own future. It sounds amazing, right? It sounds like a really interesting way to learn some history. I think it's a unique perspective and lens to look at history from. I've never really come across any other popular history book that was focused on buildings. I put it on my list. I really wanted to share it with you guys, but honestly speaking, I don't think I'll end up reading it this November just because it is surprisingly quite a long book. I remember looking it up and it was like around 600 pages or something, but it definitely is still going to stay on my to-read list. I just may not get to this one this year. So that's all of the books I'm thinking about reading for Nonfiction November this year. Again, it's not a challenge or a goal list. It's not a list of books I'm definitely planning on reading. Just some inspiration for myself and all of you. And yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you plan on picking any of them up for Nonfiction November. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.